All right, this has been the year of AI agents. We've had ChatGPT for a while. We had Claude Code come out at the end of last year. Now we're into agents. And I've got agents spread across 3 different organizations that I run. I'm sitting on top of a team of agents using judgment, discernment, making decisions. But these agents are acting like employees on my behalf to make sure things are moving smoothly in those different organizations. And I've gone through so far, we're only like a little bit past the halfway mark in 2026. I've used 4 different harnesses to make this whole thing work. And I love how it's architected, how it's dialed in. And if you're anything like me, you know that, man, you had OpenClaw at the beginning of the year, then we had Hermes, then we had Buzz, now we've got Grok Bot. There is a pain associated with changing platforms or harnesses, as they're called, every time a new innovation comes out. So I want to show you how I have my agents working on things, and I want to show you how I don't have to rewrite everything every time something changes. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about AI agents. I want to go a little bit more in depth on what agents are and how I set it up. So first of all, I'm guessing that you've used ChatGPT or Claude, right? Or you've used one of those models. One of the pieces that's magical about AI is its memory. So it kind of remembers things about you as you're putting it in there. So you don't have to remind it that you're, for me, I'm 44 years old. It knows that about me. It knows where I live. And it's got this memory, which is a little scary, but it's also really helpful. My AI setup has 3 layers. 3 layers. I've got an agent harness. That's the worker. I've got the operating system. That's the workplace. And then I have Notion, which is basically like my institutional memory. Because the layer stays separate, I can replace any one of them without losing the other. Okay, so what is an agent and how is it different from your ChatGPT experience so far? An agent, it's got a model, right? That's not any different from ChatGPT. You're prompting your agent. The second thing is the memory piece. So far, nothing new, right? We've got inference, we've got memory. The next piece, though, that's really important is the identity, right? So you give your agent instructions on who it is and what it's supposed to do. If you open an OpenClaw, this was called its soul, right? Who are you and what are you supposed to do? What role are you supposed to play in the world? The fourth thing that you have your agent able to do that you couldn't really do with ChatGPT is skills. These are repeatable processes in your life. So every day I get up, I check my email and I process my email in a particular way. Now I can give that job to an agent, and that is a skill that it learns because it's a repeatable process. So we've got inference, we've got memory, we have identity, we have skills, and then we have what was called cron jobs or routines or automations. All 3 of those things are basically the same thing. There's a trigger. Usually it's a time trigger of every 5 minutes I want you to do this skill, or once a day I want you to do this activity. So we're bundling a bunch of things together to create basically a digital employee. Somebody that's working for me who has an identity, who I can interact with, who knows particular skills, has a skill set, and then does those skills on a schedule or on a triggered basis. That's what an agent is. All right, let's talk about layer 1. This is where we have our agent harness. We're going to put the box right here. Got our agent harness. An agent harness is where the agent lives. It's the runtime that makes the raw model, or it takes a raw model like Claude or Grok, and it gives it a body. We've got an identity. We've got memory. We've got skills. And we've got scheduled tasks. And then I'm able to interact with my agents on a channel in the model or in the harness. Now, inside of the harness live the named agents. Show you this on my screen here. So I'm going to have my chief of staff, and then I'm going to have my vice presidents over different responsibilities. Each one is given a name. For example, I have Gideon, who runs for me Food Access Coalition. And then I might have Amos doing research on food that's available in my local area. That's food sourcing. And then I might have a comms named Opt, and he's going to do text and email. Those are my agents. That's what they are responsible for. We're not talking about yet how they act. We're just talking about their domain. And again, they have an ID, they have memory, they have skills, and they have scheduled tasks. Okay, let's talk about layer 2. Talked about layer 1. Layer 2 is the operating system. Instead of using the iPad to draw this out, I'm going to show you some live examples of operating systems and what these look like, and then I'll explain a little bit on how I made them. Okay, so what we're looking at here is an operating system for the Food Access Coalition. This is a logistics effort that has a truck that gets food donated into the system by food sources. That food is then routed to food pantries across Baltimore City. This is the dashboard. We've got our list over here on the left of our points of distribution. We've got our food sources. We have a driver doing routes to different pantries. And this is my heads-up display, my operating system for Food Access Coalition. Okay, so that whole system, that operating system, I designed it for myself for a use case, and I built it in Lovable. I want to show you Lovable really quickly, just so you have a quick working example of what we're talking about. Again, we're in layer 2, and we're looking at the operating system. And for Food Access, I built that in Lovable. Okay, this is Lovable. This is the desktop version. You can also just go to Lovable on your browser. And if I go over here to the Food Access Ops site, you'll see on the left that there is a bunch of information here. I've got basically on the left a chat window where I'm talking to this platform about what I want to build. So you can literally start here with a prompt and you can say, I want to build an OAuth operating system for my bakery. And it will go in and it will take a guess at, hey, this is what that should look like, and it'll build you an operating system. Okay, so we have our layer 2, which is the operating system that's custom built for me. I'm custom building it in Lovable. Agents need somewhere to work. You have your agents we've talked about in layer 1, and they need somewhere to work, and that's in the operating system. This is not a chat window. This is a workplace with real data and real actions. It's also a place where humans can act. So I have a team of people that are able to look inside of the operating system and act there as well as agents. I'll build one operating system per organization. I will build an operating system based off of a product requirement document, or PRD, a product requirement document. And this typically takes me a good 2 weeks to build these things out and to get them working. Usually it's an initial build for a week to 2 weeks. After it's built, then I'm giving my agent access. You just got to know that there are 2 rules that make these systems work with agents. First, you've got in here operational data that lives here and there alone. You've got your client records, you've got donations, you've got routes, you've got money. It does not get copied over to another place. In a minute, I'm going to show you Notion. I don't put that data over into Notion. It doesn't go over into a chat thread. It stays in my operating system. The second thing here, that I design these systems to be agent friendly. So from day one, when I'm building and talking to Lovable about the operating system that I want, I say, I want this to be agent friendly. We used to talk about user friendly. Now we talk about agent friendly. And that means that I've got an API key. It's just basically a bridge so that an agent writes to the database directly instead of clicking around on the screen and pretending to be a human. So we're not using a browser for our agent. Instead, we want our agent going directly into the operating system by an API. When you build a system today, you're building it for 2 kinds of workers. You've got your humans, and we have our agents. And the agents, again, they connect by API. Okay, so we've talked through the agent and agent harness. We've talked through layer 2, which is the operating system. My third layer is Notion, which acts as a data warehouse. Now, I know that's not the right concept for a data warehouse. If you're a programmer, you're an engineer, a data warehouse is much bigger and broader than what I'm talking about here. And so just leave that aside. For me, Notion is my data warehouse. So if we've got a harness that changes every couple of months, so this year so far, OpenClaw in January, well, it's before January, but for me, January, then a couple months later, we had Hermes, then a couple months later, we had Buzz, now we have Grok Bot. So if the harness is disposable and the operating system holds the live data, then where does the intelligence for the whole operation live? So the design, the map for this, where does it live? For me, that's in Notion. I call this my simplified data warehouse for my life, right? So inside of Notion, I have my agent team charter. That's the shared law for every agent that operates inside the harness. It gives guardrails, decision rights, what are green, yellow, and red lights for each agent. Then each agent itself has a charter. This is who they are, what they own, and what they never touch. And then I have my SOPs, my PRDs, my meeting notes, my decisions, my goals, and my tasks. So Notion is like a personal operating system for me. I've been using it longer than anything else I've shown you so far. It also has AI built into it, so I am able to use Notion as my intelligence layer so that I can keep switching harnesses as they come along. So I'm using Grok Bot right now. Grok Bot, as it's acting in the operating system, it's taking notes on how it's making decisions over in Notion. So if I decide, hey, I don't want to use Grok Bot now, I want to go back to Buzz, or I want to go to a different harness, I'm able to take everything that I've done with me to the new harness. So the reason why this layer matters more than any of the other two is for that portability. I'm able to take a new agent in a new harness and point it over at Notion and say, here's where we left off, and here's where I want you to pick up. I want you to read this page.